From the Fidelity Bank Foundation studio, PBS Kansas presents One-on-One with Victor Hogstrom.
This is where the personalities and power players of Kansas come to talk about their lives and careers and lessons learned along the way. My guest this week is a former baseball star, preacher, turned business mogul, turned politician. He is a Sedgwick County Commissioner, Ryan Baty. Baty was selected to the commission in 2023 on the platform of economic growth and supporting mental and relational health. Baty's foray into politics follows his success in the business world. In 2008, he founded what has become one of Kansas' leading mattress retailers with 13 stores across the state. Prior to that, Baty was an All-American baseball star for the University of Kansas. He was even signed to a professional contract. We'll find out what happened to his dream of becoming a major leaguer, and we'll find out how he channeled his talents into business and now public service. We're here to learn about the person behind the persona as I go one-on-one with Sedgwick County Commissioner Ryan Baty right now. Hello and thank you for joining us. I'm Victor Hogstrom. It's a pleasure to welcome Sedgwick County Commissioner Ryan Baty to the program. Thank you for joining me.
Victor, good to be here.
You have a lot to talk about on this program. Some people may know your story and others may not, from being a professional baseball player, a preacher, a businessman, and now a politician.
Yeah.
Which one are you enjoying most?
Well, there are different stages in life. I'm a strange species, aren't I? But yeah, it's just different stages. I've enjoyed all those stages and phases, and I'm thoroughly enjoying the one I'm in now. So it certainly has been interesting.
Well, let's start from the beginning. You have achieved much in your relatively young life, and so take us back to the beginning and tell us how your childhood set up your success for today.
So I'm fourth generation Wichitan. My mom and my dad, both sides of their family grew up here in Wichita. Both sides of my family grew up in the north end of Wichita. My dad around 25th and Jackson, and my mom 25th and Burns. So right around that Arkansas and 25th Street corridor, both sides of my family. So the north end was very much a part of my history and upbringing. And then from there, my dad was in the bowling business. You and I talked about it frequently. So we were around bowling alleys most of my childhood. And that's interesting because you meet a lot of different people and you see a lot of, you see how customer service, my father taught us the means of customer service and what it looks like to serve his customers. And that was really some of the first lessons I had in business, was watching my father and how he interacted with his customers. And went to North High, from there transferred to Northwest High School and then on to KU. So from my early business experiences watching my father to playing Little League baseball and high school baseball and collegiate baseball, those were really the breeding grounds that prepared me for the things that I've done later in life.
And the playing of baseball took you to the professional level.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. What made you talented as a baseball player?
Yeah, baseball is a great game, and you begin to look back, and I have the beauty of hindsight now. I can look back and see how baseball has influenced my life. Obviously, growing up playing here at West Urban as a kid, and then in high school in the City League. Back then, the City League in baseball was very talented. A lot of kids from City League baseball went on to play Division I baseball, collegiately and professionally. And then I had the opportunity to play in college. I had success in high school, became an All-American in high school, had some offers out of high school to go to college. I chose to go to the University of Kansas. I'm a Jayhawk, and had just a wonderful career there. Was like team captain there for 3 years, all-conference and All-American there, and then was able to fulfill my childhood dream and to play a kid's game for a living. Was able to sign a professional contract with the Tampa Bay Rays, and I was able to do that for a few years before an injury ended my career. Now I can look back and I can see the impact and the influence that baseball had on my life and how it prepared me in so many ways. It taught me discipline. It taught me how to be a good teammate. It taught me how to receive correction from a coach, how to win graciously and lose graciously. Those lessons weren't learned in graduate school or from a textbook. They were learned through sport, which is why I'm still an advocate for sports today. So baseball had a big influence on my life.
Which one of those had the greatest impact on you?
Yeah. For different reasons, all those seasons of my baseball career were impactful, but I would say the collegiate experience at the University of Kansas was probably the most impactful. You go from high school to college, and you've got to learn how to juggle a lot of different things: school, public events, baseball, and then you got to compete at a big level in the Big 12 Conference. It's the first time I'd ever been around as much talent where I had to really compete for a job and for a position. You just learn so much, and it's a unique season in people's lives too as they're going through college. So looking back now, I can see that the imprint that college baseball and being a college athlete had on my life, and I'm grateful for every minute of it.
So when you were playing baseball, what was the aspiration, to be the next Baty Ruth?
Yeah, the aspiration for a lot of American boys is to play at the highest level and to play in the big leagues. And that was always my dream too. And what's interesting, Victor, is you don't realize how achievable the dream is until you start getting closer. And then you get between the lines and you see that you really can measure up, and you see the guys that you're competing against. And when I got to college, I started to learn quickly that I felt like I could compete at that level. When I was signed by the Tampa Bay Rays, I got to spring training that first year, and I began to learn quickly that, hey, this dream that I've had since I was 5 years old, that aspiration was achievable. And it really fed me, and it made me drive and developed a discipline and an intensity in me that to help achieve that dream, to conquer that dream. And ultimately, it was cut short because of an injury, but yeah, it was always to play in the big leagues.
So would you say your baseball career amounted to an injury?
Yeah, it was concussions of all things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was my first year, my first spring training. I took a 97-mile-per-hour fastball from the Toronto Blue Jays organization in a spring training game. A 97-mile-per-hour fastball hit me right behind my ear, and that was my first grade 3 concussion. It knocked me out unconscious, spent a night in the hospital. And what's interesting is, and we know more about concussions now than we did back in 2005 and 6 and 7. The more concussions you get, the more susceptible you are to future concussions. So a major concussion lends you to more concussions, and I just kept getting concussions. It felt like the wind would blow and I'd get a concussion. I got really susceptible to night lights and things of that sort, where I was really vulnerable. And so yeah, it was an injury that ultimately had caused me to make the decision that I needed to step away.
So after baseball, what?
Baseball was such a part of my life for so long that I had never really envisioned doing anything else. And some people would say, well, man, that's immaturity and it's not reasonable or practical. And I would argue against that I had a dream and I wanted to fulfill that dream, and I gave everything I had to that dream, and there was no seconds. We had a saying with a group of friends that we were going to burn the ships, that we were going to set sail on this dream and we were going to burn our ships so there was no way back. So I really sold out for that dream, Victor. And then after I made the decision that it was too dangerous for me to play because of the concussions, I decided I was going to go to law school. And I came back and was going to, I took my LSAT and was doing my applications. And that's when I met a guy in the mattress business. In the interim in between baseball and going to law school, I met a guy in the mattress business. And that's what kind of whet my appetite for business.
And now you own several mattress stores throughout the state.
Yeah, we started a company. I'll never forget this, and I love to tell this story because I love the story of the entrepreneur. It is squarely in the DNA of this community, entrepreneurship and small business. And I truly believe that small business owners are really the lifeblood of an economy in many, many ways. And I remember him telling me, and we were actually working out at a health club, and that's where I met this guy. I didn't have a previous relationship. And I remember him telling me about his business, and he was importing mattresses, memory foam mattresses, and he was selling them at a kiosk at Town West Mall. I kid you not, 2006. And he just kept telling me about it. I remember thinking to myself, that's a really incredible idea. Everybody needs a mattress. The average house has 3. Nobody likes what they sleep on. And we're in a chronically sleep-deprived country. And I just found it interesting. And somehow, some way, I was 25 years old, and he convinced me, hold off on school a few years. Let's open up some mattress stores and have some fun and start a business. And that was in 2006. And here we are, almost 20 years later. We had opened up 27 stores across 3 states, and I still have Mattress Hub to this day.
So how did the Mattress Hub come into play?
Yeah, these were the companies that we started. We actually started under a different name originally, and then we transitioned to Mattress Hub as our business model pivoted. But that was it. This is what I had been doing by and large for the last 20 years. Mattress Hub got me into an industry where we had incredible success very quickly. We grew from 1 store to over 20 stores in the first 4 years I had this company, and wonderful staff. Many of the staff has been with me 13, 14, 15 years plus. And Mattress Hub and the mattress business led me to other business interests with real estate and other things. So it really was just taking a risk at 25 years old.
But you also have a story about helping the underprivileged.
Yeah.
You've taken people out of prison and trusted them with your business.
Yeah.
Tell us that story. Why did you do it, and how is it going?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. What business afforded me the opportunity to do was to invest into other areas of society in our communities that really moved my heart. I'll give you some examples. We're very, very active in the foster care space with vulnerable children and families. We're able to give foster families mattresses and do some other work in those areas. But what really moved my heart was some what I began to see in society with individuals that were looking for a second chance. Many of these were recovering addicts. Some of these people were coming out of our correctional institutions. And Victor, when you have the scarlet letter F, when you're a felon, it makes it incredibly difficult. These people are coming out of correctional facilities and institutions, and they can't find a job because they can't get hired. They can't get housing. They have back taxes and back child support. I mean, you name it. And they have a hard time getting a leg up. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, I always felt like when society and the criminal justice system told an individual, this was your wrong, you've been convicted, this is what you do to make amends, right. I always felt like society needed to do a better job of reintegrating people back into our communities and our society. So at the Mattress Hub, we were very active in the second chance community. About a third, many people know this, about a third of my staff at Mattress Hub are from the second chance and sober living communities, where we're very active in those spaces with transitional housing. And it's worked by and large very well for our company. When you give people a chance, and when you invest into them and you give them a means to make a good living, and you build into them, not just professionally, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, it's amazing what you can get out of people that are looking for a second chance. And you cannot separate the success from the Mattress Hub with the success of that type of program where we help to reintegrate people back into the workforce.
So as a county commissioner, do you plan to bring that into play, that thought, that idea?
Yeah. What has carried over into this role now as a county commissioner is still the heart for community, the heart for vulnerable families and vulnerable people. Now, the role of business and the role of government are two separate things, and they don't always have the same purpose and role. But what I can do in an elected position as a leader in the community, what I have the opportunity to do is tell people stories. I can work as conduit many times to connect people to community services and community organizations. And so that heart with foster care and second chance and mental health and homelessness and substance use, all of these things, that very much propelled me into where I'm doing now as a public official and trying to find creative ways to serve people that are vulnerable in this community.
Before we talk about your role as a Sedgwick County Commissioner, let's talk about your role in the pulpit.
Yes.
You've been preaching, and how did that happen, and what's your specialty?
Yeah. So I became a Christian at KU and got very involved in campus ministry. And when I moved back to Wichita to start my business, I started attending a local church. And as a lot of local churches have, and they know very well, is the bench is pretty short when it comes to help. And I had the senior pastor there, a dear friend of mine, Boone Baker. He said, hey, will you come speak to the youth group? A group of about 50, 60 kids. Just come share your experiences about baseball. They'd love to hear about it. And so I did, and I've done that a number of times in my life. So I went and spoke to the group. I loved it, enjoyed every minute of it. And then he says, well, come back next week. They had such a good time. And I came back the next week, and that led to 12 years of coming back every Sunday. Moved from a youth pastor position to an associate pastor position, all volunteer work. Just serving. I love to teach scripture. I love to organize in the community, and that really, I did it for 12 years, pastoral ministry. Not full time, I still had my businesses, but it was my way to give back. It was my way to participate. It was my way to help serve people and seeing a need in the church and helping to step in and fulfill that need.
How have all of these roles contributed to your business success?
Yeah, it's a great question. Whether it was from baseball to business to ministry and now public office, I think where it's done mostly is it's shaped my perspective about people. It's shaped my perspective on brokenness, on the need for community and fellowship. It's moved me in a way, I think, to be more compassionate in some regards. It hasn't hardened me or calloused me. It's really softened me in some ways. My wife would tell you that business and baseball, it hardened me a bit. It made me very competitive, very disciplined in some regards, and that ministry softened me. Mm-hmm. And like many things, she's right. Ministry softened me. And I think that ministry experience was the greatest experience to move me into this role now as a public official, because it taught me the need for community. It taught me the need for fellowship. It taught me how to love well and how to serve people well.
So if ministry softened you, what did business do for you?
It taught discipline. It taught me the capacity for building teams. Business, particularly when it's your own money as an entrepreneur on the line, it taught me how to, the appropriate level of risk taking. More so than anything, it taught me the strength of organizational development. The first 2 years of my business, it was about just staying alive. It was trying to prove our concept. Then we got to a position for a few years to where we were scaling up and building our business. And then at about year 10, it became about survival, as we had to pivot, like all businesses have to do. And we've been, for the last 4 or 5 years, in a real season of harvest, where I'm so grateful for that season. And with that, my role as a leader has changed. I'm no longer involved in the operations of Mattress Hub and some of our other companies. I'm very much involved now in strategy. I'm very much involved now in people development and building leaders and teaching them how to lead other people. So it's a very sweet season for me, frankly. I'm really enjoying this season in my business career. Not just developing products and strategy, but developing people.
So we play a little game on this program, and I have one for you.
Okay.
Tell me what comes to mind when you hear what comes to mind. The first thing that comes to mind, actually, when you hear this, the word that I would say to you.
Okay, it'll be fun. Let's go.
Okay, money.
Dangerous.
Why?
I've had both. I've lived without it, and I've lived with it. And the root of all evil is the love of money. Money has a purpose. I put it up there with oxygen in some regards. You need money to be able to do things,
right.
But money can equally be as good as it can bad. And if it's not in the right perspective, it can be very dangerous.
Power.
Service. If you have power, you have a burden of responsibility to use it and wield it wisely. And the greatest use of power is in service.
Leisure.
Foreign. Leisure is foreign to me. I think my family and friends would tell you I don't have a whole lot of downtime. I'm not really wired that way. I like to go. I like to move. There'll be a day when I'm able to kick back but I'm not in that season right now. And I'm in a season of moving. I'm in a season of direction, and I'm going to seize this opportunity.
Sports.
Necessary.
Why is it necessary?
I'm a byproduct. My testimony.
You hurt yourself.
Yes, I did. But I would not be who I am today if it wasn't for sport.
Okay.
It shaped me. It chiseled me. It taught me. It humbled me.
Mm-hmm.
Sport was one of the most necessary things into my personal development, and I'm grateful for that time in my life.
Government.
I've got a lot of opinions on government. First thing, if we're playing by the rules, first thing is reform. It's the first thing that comes to my mind. On every level of government, I think that we have reached a season that we need reform, particularly on the federal level. That what's going on, the way government interacts now and the use of government now, I don't think is sustainable. I think we have to reform government on all levels.
Weekends.
Kids, first thing that comes to mind. I cannot be, because I'm wired to go, Victor. I'm wired. I don't know if a 40-hour work week. I mean, this has been my life is, 60, 65, 70-hour work weeks. But if I'm not healthy, then I can't lead well. And I got one shot to be a dad, and my kids have one dad. And I owe them the opportunity to be as present as I can be. So the weekends, particularly on Sunday, I try to shut down a bit and I try to focus on my kids.
So tell our audiences, who is Ryan Baty?
Well, if you look at social media, you'll get a lot of different opinions on that, but
You're defining yourself.
I get to define it.
Yes.
I hope the way I see myself is the way the community sees me. Someone who cares deeply, someone who is willing to invest all my talents, all my resources, everything I've got into the shaping the better outcome for the people around me. I hope when people see me, they see my heart and why I want to serve. It's not because I want to be a great Republican or a great politician it's because I want to serve people. And I want to seize the opportunity to reshape the way people think about business people like myself, pastors like myself, and politicians like myself. I want to reshape what that potential could be for a community. And I want to just give all that I have into impacting and serving the people in this community.
So, Ryan, what made you decide to become a politician?
I'm a localist. I care deeply about what happens here on the local level. Some of it, Victor, was I was frustrated, frankly.
What's frustrated you? Tell us.
There were some things that I think from the local level. I began to see the deep partisanship that had settled in on the local level. What we were seeing on the national and the federal level, we were seeing on the local level, and I thought it was inappropriate, and I didn't think it was effective or helpful. And that division, that lack of civility was stagnating this community, and it frustrated me. I thought we needed to have people with relational capital that could lead with civility to get in the room to help shape the outcomes, because we're in an incredibly important season in this community. And I really just felt like, from a frustrated standpoint, that I could do better, that I could get in the room and lead with civility and try to shape the outcomes that are so desperately needed in this community. That was one of the reasons. So I was frustrated, but on the other side of the coin, Victor, I was hopeful. And I thought that we needed a hopeful vision for community. I felt like we needed someone to take a stand and to help not just talk about and paint a hopeful vision, but to use the experiences I have in business and ministry and in sports to execute a hopeful vision, to lay a path for this community and then show us how to get there and to take us there and to do it and to rally a community around a vision. So I was equally as frustrated as I was hopeful, and that's what kind of moved me into this space.
But I think in the long range there is a plan you have. Tell us about that plan.
Well, the plan is local.
Only local?
Yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, there's nowhere you can go. You're already at the county commission level.
I've been fortunate. I'm in my second year at the county commission, and I was elected as chairman of the county commission. It wasn't something that I was expecting in my second year. With that, I do a lot of public speaking.
And
I do a lot of
congratulations.
events. Thank you, sir. I'm grateful. So I got a lot of people that ask that same question. What's the political ambition? Where are you going? Mm-hmm. And I will 100% tell you that I don't know. I want to be useful. I want to serve a community. I don't have any ambition to serve in Washington, D.C. I have a young family. I have 4 little kids. I'm very active. I'm a localist, Victor. I want to shape the outcomes here. And wherever that leads me in the future, God willing, I'll look at any opportunity. But my eyes are set right here on what's happening in Sedgwick County and how I can really impact the region here. And that's my focus. That's my heart's desire. And I'm determined to shape it in a positive way.
So as a county commissioner, how do you gauge success?
Great question. Well, progress is success in many regards. The first thing I think all great leaders have to do is they have to define problems. They have to communicate to a community what the problems are that need addressed. You can't solve problems unless you first identify them. And we have some significant issues going on in the community. The first is, and I put it squarely at the foster care feet, is we have a foster care crisis in our community, and it's leading to dangerous outputs and dangerous outcomes. That's not squarely a county issue. It's mostly a state issue. But I'm squarely involved because the county, be it with juvenile detention, with corrections, with ComCare, with the public health department, the sheriff's office, we get the output and we get the byproduct of a failing foster care system. So I'm very involved in that space. Moving the needle and reforming there would be success. Outside of that, I'm deeply concerned with the growing cost of government. And what's growing government isn't frivolous spending at the county level. It's because of compensation, much needed, necessary compensation that I'm very much in favor for. Well, but that doesn't mean that property taxes aren't growing at a level that are hurting people, frankly. I think we've reached a cap of property taxation in our community. So, cost of government's increasing. It's needed because of compensation to stabilize local government services. But property taxes have also reached a level. In my view, the way through this is reform. We've got to look at functional consolidation opportunities with the city of Wichita and the other 19 cities to where we can share more services to become more efficient, but also to lower the cost of government to our citizens.
So how are you able to work as a county commissioner and run your own private company?
Well, I have great people surrounding me. And I think that's the secret sauce to all leadership is how do you develop people. Most of the people at Mattress Hub, and that's one of the several companies that I'm involved with, and but most of what happens there, the operations are done by staff that have been with me many years, staff that I trust deeply with my life. We are very cognizant of systems and a culture. So we've laid that in, and I trust them to execute that, and they're doing it well. The same is said for county government. One of the things that really impressed me right out of the gate that I wouldn't say I was surprised, but in many regards I didn't expect, is just the amount of talent we have at Sedgwick County government in the people. 2,700 employees. These people are brilliant. They're determined. They care deeply, and they care about making sure that I'm equipped to do my job and make decisions. So the secret to success is always with the people that you surround yourself with. And in both sides, public life and private life, I have great people around me.
Sedgwick County Commissioner Ryan Baty, thank you so much.
Victor, thank you, sir.
It's been a pleasure.
Appreciate you.
I also appreciate you watching this program. oneandone@kpts.org is our email address. That's if you have a question or comment. I'm Victor Hogstrom. Be well, and I'll see you again soon.